Here is the review for systems of equations. Starting with number 1. 1 through 3 have the same directions. We are going to tell whether the ordered pair is a solution of the given system. So we're going to tell whether this point 2, negative 2 is a solution to these systems. What we can do is take these two equations and graph them in the calculator to check if that point is the solution. So we are going to go to number 2 for add graphs. Since our calculator is preset to y equals, we cannot graph 3x plus y equals 4 in the calculator unless we delete the equal sign, choose number 6 for relation, and type the equation the way it is. 3x plus y equals 4. Press enter and the graph will appear. You need to press tab to graph the second equation. X minus 3y equals negative 4. Oops, negative 4. You have to realize this is a minus sign and this is a negative in front of the 4. The minus is between two terms and the negative is in front of this constant by itself. Press enter and there are the two lines graphed. If we want to check if this point is a solution, 2, negative 2, we're going to use the menu feature. Menu, 6 to analyze, 4 for intersection. Once you type menu 6, 4, your dotted line will appear. Click once on the right, highlight, and click once on the left. Your point of intersection is a decimal. You can click on that point, move it somewhere off your graph so you can see 0.8, 1.6 is the solution to this system. So 2, negative 2 is not the solution. So all we have to say is no. If you wanted to check by hand, you would plug in your x value, your y value into each of the equations. You'd see if you plug in a 2 for x and a negative 2 for y, it would be 3 times 2, which is 6, minus 2, which is 4. But if you plug in a 2 for x here and a negative 2 for the y, it would be 2 minus 3 times a negative 2, changes to a plus 6. So 2 plus 6 is not negative 4. So the solution would need to satisfy both equations. Let's try number 2. You're going to check if the point 3, negative 1 is a solution to x minus 2y equals 5 and 2x minus y equals 7. Again, you can open up a new document, go to number 2 for add graphs. If you wanted to graph the equation x minus 2y equals 5, you're going to delete the equal sign, choose number 6 for relation, and type the equation. Press enter. To graph the second equation, you would press tab. 2x minus y equals 7. Press enter. We are checking if the point 3, negative 1 is a solution. So if you type menu, 6 to analyze, 4 for intersection, you click once on the right, highlight, click once on the left. The point of intersection is 3, negative 1, and that is the point listed. So we will say, yes, this is a solution to the system. And last, number 3. We'll graph the equation in the calculator and check if this is a solution. So if we open up a new document, choose number 2 for add graphs, delete the equal sign, choose number 6 for relation, type the equation. 2x plus y equals 12. Enter. Graph the second equation by pressing tab. Negative 3y minus x equals negative 11. Press enter, use the menu feature, menu 6, 4. You can click highlight, click one more time. 5, 2 is the solution, and that is the point listed here. So we will say yes, it is a solution to the system. Let's move on to number 4 through 6. Numbers 4 through 6, the directions say to complete the sentence below. We're completing the sentence based on the description. If the lines are blank, then there's exactly one solution. If the lines are blank, the solution set is no solution. If the lines are blank, all numbers on the line are solutions, infinitely many solutions. So you want to go back to your graphing notes where we discussed each type of solution. If we have one solution, these two lines are intersecting. If we have no solution, they're parallel lines where your slope is the same. If you have infinitely many solutions, they're exactly the same line. So let's go back and answer these questions. If the lines are blank, there is exactly one solution. If the lines are intersecting, then it's one solution. They intersect at one point. Number 5, if the lines are blank, the solution set is no solution. The lines are parallel. So you want to remember, they have the same slope for parallel lines. If the lines are blank, all numbers on the line are solutions, infinitely many solutions. We can say if the lines are exactly the same. We can say if the lines are the same. So you want to remember, infinitely many solutions refers to the same slope and same y-intercept. Let's move on to 7 and 8. Use a table to find the solutions to the following system. So you want to remember a table. When you're given a table, you're no longer looking at a picture of a graph where you find their point of intersection. When you're given a table, you're given your x values and the y value for each individual equation. So these are my y values, and what I'm looking for in a table is the same y value. When your y value is the same, that is their point of intersection, and that's their solution. So here I'm looking when not my x and y are the same, I'm looking for my y values to be the same. Here I have 1, 1. My y values are the same, but when I write my solution, I must remember that I need to write the solution as a point, x comma y. So my solution here is -1 comma 1, x comma y. The next table, my x values are in the left and my y values are the last two columns. So I'm looking to see when my y values are exactly the same, and here they're exactly the same, but I need to remember I need to write the point as x comma y for the solution. So 4 comma 3 is the solution to this system. For problems 9 and 10, we are going to graph, and if we don't use the graphing method, we must remember that you will not be given credit. When you're using the graphing method, you're using your m, your slope to move, and b, the y-intercept to start. Number 9, y equals 2x minus 8. 2 is m, your slope. -8 is b, this is where you start on your graph, on the y. So you start on the y-intercept. M is 1 over 2, so that tells me where to move. I'm going to go up 2, right 1. So if I need to start at -8 on my graph, I need to go down to -8, and we can say this is -7 and this is -8. Start at -8 on y and use the slope to move. Up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. Draw your line, and this is my first equation. My second equation is y equals -1/2 x plus 2. Plus 2 is where I will start on y. -1/2 is my slope. So if -1/2 is my slope, I'm going to move down 1 and right 2 from my y-intercept. So I will start at +2 and move down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. Once I do that and connect my points, I can see the solution to this graph is at this point here. To write this point, it's x comma y. So 4 comma 0 is the solution to this graph. 4 is your x, 0 is your y. Number 10, you have y equals negative 2x plus 5. So you will begin at 5 on the y, and you're going to use your slope to move. Since it's negative 2, you put it over 1. It tells me down to right 1. So if I start at positive 5 and move down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1, and you want to just graph enough points in both directions to see that intersection. The second graph, when I look at the second graph, it's y equals 7 minus 2x. The number in front of your x is your slope, so it's negative 2 over 1. So you're going to move down to right 1. And 7 is your y-intercept. It's where you start on the y. So I'm going to go to positive 7 on the y. So this is 6. I'll start at 7 here and put my point. Then I'm going to move down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1, and what you notice here is that these two lines never cross, they never intersect. And what you can recognize is your slope is negative 2 and your slope is negative 2 in each of the equations. When these two lines don't intersect and the slope is the same, we say there is no solution to this system of equations. No solution for this graph. You want to remember, same slope. Let's move on to the next page. On the next page, for numbers 11 and 12, you are going to find the solution using your calculator. When we use our calculator, we are going to graph in the calculator and use menu 6-4 to find the intersection. So we're going to take number 11 and put it in the calculator. Open up a new document, go to number 2 for add graphs. Since the equation's already preset to y equals, or the calculator's already preset to y equals, you can just type the equation the way it is. Negative x plus 4, enter. Then you can press tab to graph the second equation, 1 plus 2x, enter. Now I'm going to use the menu feature to find that intersection. Menu, 6 to analyze, 4 for intersection. Click once on the left, scroll over, and click once on the right. My point where they intersect is 1, 3, so that is your solution, 1, 3. To graph number 12, open up a new document, go to number 2 for add graphs, and type the equation. It's y equals, so I can type it the way it is. 5x plus 1, enter. There's the first line. Press tab, type the second equation. 1 plus 5x, enter. What you notice is when you graph the first line and then you graph the second line, they are exactly the same line. If you go back and compare your equations, 5 is your slope. 5 is your slope. 1 is your y-intercept in each of those equations. When the slope and the y-intercept are exactly the same, we say infinitely many solutions. And you want to be careful and pay attention to your graph, because if you go through the steps of pressing menu 6-4 and you click and you highlight, that point of intersection is going to change because there's too many points for it to list. So if you think that you're trying to find your point of intersection and you didn't pay attention to those two lines graphed that are exactly the same, then you're going to make the mistake of writing a point. That is not the point of an intersection. There's too many for us to list, so we say infinitely many solutions. For number 13 and 14, we're going to find the solution to the following system using the substitution method. When you use the substitution method, you will substitute one expression in for the other. Credit will only be given if substitution method is used. If you do not use a substitution method, there will be no credit for you. Okay, looking at 13, you have x plus y equals 20 and y equals 4x. When you're finding when you're using substitution, you look for one of the equations to be solved for. So the second equation is solved for. It's solved for y. Y equals 4x. So when you identify this, you know that this is going to go in place of the y. When you substitute something, the y is going to be taken out, and you're going to put the 4x in place of it. So we can write the equation first, the original equation. X plus y equals 20. If we are going to substitute 4x for y, I'm going to bring down my x, and I'm just going to plug in exactly what's there. Plus 4x, the y goes away, and you put that in place of the x, or the y, equals 20. Now I just need to solve. I have 1x plus 4x. I put this together, and I get 5x equals 20. The last step to solve is to undo multiplication. So we divide by 5 on both sides. So x equals 4. But here you want to identify that you're not done here. You only found the x value. You need to take this x value and plug it back in to find the y. So we're going to plug in 4 for x. When we do that, you're going to choose which equation would be easier to plug in for x. You could use either one, but since you're finding the y value, the second equation would be easier to use. Y equals 4x. If you are going to substitute in a 4 for the x, you need to use parentheses since it's multiplication. So you have y equals 4 parentheses 4. 4 parentheses 4 is 4 times 4. Y equals 16. Now that you have x and you have y, you can write your solution as 4, 16. X, y. You can use the calculator on the graphing to check if you have the correct solution, and if you don't, you can go back and check your work. But if the graphing calculator is only used to check your work. Number 14, we're going to substitute x equals y plus 4 in for x. So that means it's going to go behind the 2. So if it's x equals, all of this will go where x is. So we're going to go ahead and write the original equation. 2x minus 5y equals 2. And we're going to substitute in y plus 4 for x. So 2, and the only way we can substitute that in is using parentheses. Y plus 4, close your parentheses, minus 5y equals 2. Now I need to solve. So to get rid of these parentheses, I need to multiply. 2 times y and 2 times 4. 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 4 is 8, so plus 8. Bring down your minus 5y equals 2. Now this is a part where a lot of people get confused. Now that you're ready to combine your like terms, you identify that 2y minus 5y are your like terms. Since they are on the same side, use the same sign to combine them. You have 2y, subtract 5y, you have a negative 3y. Now bring down your plus 8 equals a negative 2. Now you're ready to solve and get the y by itself. You move your numbers to the right. So opposite of plus 8 is minus 8 to keep it balanced. Plus 8 minus 8 cancels, and you're left with negative 3y equals negative 2 minus 8. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a negative 2. That should be a positive 2, transferring it down. Positive 2 minus 8 is a negative 6. So taking all of this, I don't have any more room. I'm going to take a negative 3y equals negative 6. To solve for y, I need to undo multiplication, so I'm going to divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3. When I divide by negative 3 on both sides, I should get y equals a positive 2. But I'm not done yet. I need to look at this equation and go back and plug in a y value to find x. So I'm going to take this and plug it in. Plug in 2 for y. When I plug in a 2 for the y, I'm going to go back and check which equation would be easier to plug that into. The first equation is x equals y plus 4. So it would be easier to plug in a 2 for y to solve for x. X equals, and I substitute in a 2 for the y, plus 4. So x equals 6. Now that you have your x value and your y value, you're ready to write your solution as 6, 2, x, y. And we are done here. For numbers 15 and 16, we're going to use the elimination method. When you use the elimination method, you are going to eliminate one variable and use the same process as substitution to plug in that value and find the other value. So when I look at number 15, I have 2x plus y equals 5 and negative x minus 2y equals 4. So if I rewrite the equation, 2x plus y equals 5 and negative 2x minus 2y equals 4, I'm going to stack my work because in the end I'm going to combine my like terms. So if you notice, you have a positive 2x and a negative 2x. Your x's are going to be the first variable to cancel out. Now you're going to combine what you have left over. So if you have a 1y plus a negative 2y, it's the same as saying 1 minus 2. So 1 minus 2 is a negative 1y equals, and you're taking 5 plus 4, 9. You undo multiplication by dividing by negative 1, divide by negative 1 on both sides. So now I have y equals negative 9. Again, you're not done here. Your next step is to plug in a negative 9 for y. When you plug in a negative 9 for y, you're going to solve for x this time. Again, it does not matter which equation you use. I will go ahead and use the first equation. 2x plus y equals 5. If I'm going to plug in a negative 9 for the y is going to go away and this negative 9 is going to go in place of it. So I will start off with 2x. If I plug in a negative 9, it's just like plugging in a minus 9 equals 5. Now I'm ready to solve for y. I want to move this 9 over to the other side. So the opposite of minus 9 is plus 9 here and plus 9 with 5. Minus 9 plus 9 cancels and I have 2x equals 14. My last step to solve for x is to divide by 2 on both sides. And when I divide by 2, x will equal 7. So now that I have x and I have y, I write my solution as 7, negative 9, x, y. Number 16. I'm going to look at this and rewrite the problem. X plus 2y equals 7 and 4x minus 2y equals 8. When I do that, I can clearly see which variable is going to eliminate. So if I have a positive 2y, negative 2y, my y's will eliminate and I will combine my x's. If I have 1x plus 4x, that means I have 5x equals 7 plus 8, 15. Now I will solve for x by undoing multiplication, so I divide by 5 on both sides. When I divide by 5 on both sides, x will equal 3. Again, you're not done here. You need to take that x value and plug it in to find the y value. So we're going to plug in 3 for x. Again, it does not matter which equation you choose. I will go ahead and choose the first equation, x plus 2y equals 7. If I'm going to substitute in a 3 for x, the x will go away and the 3 will go in place of it. So 3 plus 2y equals 7. Now I'm ready to solve. I need to move my numbers to the right and keep my variables on the left. Opposite of 3 is minus 3 on both sides. When I do that, I should get 2y equals 7 minus 3 is 4. Divide by 2 on both sides. Y should equal 2. So x, y, you write your solution as 3, 2, x, y. Numbers 17, 18, and 19. We are going to determine if there's a correlation. Correlation means relationship. And if there is a correlation, we're going to identify if it's a causal relationship, which means causation, or an association just by chance. So below freezing temperatures on a cold day and falling snow. this situation is if your temperatures are decreasing and the snowfall, there may just be a correlation between them. It doesn't mean that the freezing temperatures cause the snow. So here, it is just a correlation. 18, height of a person and number of text messages sent a day. Here, there would be no correlation between the two. It's just like your shoe size and your test score, or your hair color and your test score. And 19, time spent exercising and number of calories burned. The more you exercise, the more calories you're going to burn. So there is a correlation, and it's going to be causal. So this is a causation. Number 20, what is the equation in standard form of the line that passes through the point? So here we have a point and have a slope. In the past, we taught you to do this by hand. So what we're going to do is practice using the calculator, because this is spiral material on the calculator in scatter plots. So if you're looking for an equation that has a point and a slope of 1/4, we're going to graph our answers and check in the calculator on the graph whether this point crosses through the line. To check if that point is on the line, we're going to use menu 5-1 so we can trace along the graph. And if we want to check for the slope, we're going to use menu 6-5. So if we turn on our calculator, open up a new document, go to number 2 for add graphs, we're going to graph the first answer choice. To graph this, you need to delete the equal sign, choose number 6 for relation. So we're going to type x minus 4y equals 36. Enter. If I don't see my graph appear, it means my window is not large enough. So I need to remember I can zoom out to see the picture. If I press menu, 4 for zoom, for window/zoom, and 4 again to zoom out, the magnifying glass is going to appear. Click once in the center, and if you'd like to click one more time, you can. You don't have to. And now press escape to settle the graph and for the magnifying glass to go away. So now we want to check if this point 4, -8 is on the line. So you can't pull up a table in relation. So the only way to check if that point is on the line is if you press menu 5-1. And this is almost like pulling up a table. All of your points are appearing at the bottom of your screen. So if you want to go directly to the point 4, -8, you can just type the x value 4, x equals 4, and then press enter on your calculator. It takes you directly to that point. So this equation has a point 4, -8. I'm not done. I also need to check if this slope is on that line. So if I want to check for the slope, it's going to be menu, 6 to analyze, and 5 for dy dx. Now that you see the slope, you can click and see 0.25. If you don't know that 0.25 is in fraction form 1/4, you could go to your calculator page and type in 0.25. And to convert that decimal to a fraction, you would press menu, 2 for number, 2 to approximate to fraction, press enter, 1/4. Since our slope is 1/4 and it's passing through the point of 4, -8, A is our answer. If you wanted to check letter B, we could go to a graph page, and you're going to see if you graph this equation, x minus 4y equals 28, enter, and press menu 5-1, go directly to that point 4, -8, and to check if that's on there, 4, enter, 4, -6. So you know that this point does not lie on this line, and you can continue to check the rest, but letter A is the correct answer. 21. The pattern shows the perimeter of a figure made from square tiles based on the number of tiles used. Which statement accurately describes this pattern if P represents the perimeter, T represents the number of tiles? So what you want to identify is that there's a pattern that you have to come up with the equation for. So if you look at all these equations, they're set up with P equals. So you want to remember, this is like y equals x plus 2, y equals x plus 3, y equals 2x plus 2, and y equals 4x. So P represents your Y, and your T is your number of tiles. So X is our number of tiles. There's 1 tile, there's 2 tiles, there's 3 tiles. So in this example, you can make yourself a table, X comma Y, and the only place you can put a table in your calculator is your list in spreadsheets. So you're gonna put this in your list in spreadsheets on your calculator. Open up a new document, go to number 4 for list in spreadsheets, label A as X, B as Y. 1, 2, 3 for X, 4, 6, 8 for Y. From here, you add a calculator page and use the calculator feature. Menu, 6 for statistics, 1 for stat calculations, 3 for linear regression, MX plus B. X list is X, Y list is Y, enter, enter. M is 2, B is 2. So when we write our equation, it's Y equals 2X plus 2. In terms of P and T, C is the correct answer. P equals 2T plus 2. Number 22, which equation can be represented by the graph shown? If we're matching an equation to a graph, to a picture, we're going to graph the equation in the calculator and match it to our picture. So you're going to notice that it's crossing at 2 on the Y and in between 5 and 6 on the X axis. So if I go to number 1 for new document, 2 for add graphs, type this, I need to delete the equal sign, choose number 6 for relation, and type the equation. Negative 3x plus 8y plus 16 equals 0. Enter. This line is increasing, it has a positive slope. So I would X A out. Go to letter B. Add a graph page and graph the equation. 3x minus 8y plus 16 equals 0. Enter. Again, this has a positive slope. The graph has a negative slope. So B is not correct. Graph letter C. Negative 3x minus 8y minus 16 equals 0. Enter. This does have a negative slope, but if you check your y-intercept, it is not crossing at a positive 2. It's crossing at a negative 2. So C is not the correct answer. When you graph letter D, 3x plus 8y minus 16 equals 0. Press, I have too many. 3x plus 8y equals 16, minus 16 equals 0. You can see that the y-intercept is 2 and the x-intercept is somewhere between 5 and 6. So D is the correct answer here. 23, this goes back to scatter plots. It says a t-shirt manufacturer is interested in finding the linear relation between the number of shirts purchased at one time and the cost per t-shirt. Following data was obtained. So if you have a table and you need to answer these questions, you're going to go to your number 1, lists and spreadsheets. Number 2, add your calculator page. Number 3, you're going to add your graph page to make predictions. Oops, add graph, and this is for your predictions. So start again and do not delete your x values and try and stay in the same table. So go to number 4, A is x, B is y, enter and go to number 1. 1, 3, 6, 10, 15. 55, 52, 46, 32, 25. From here, add your calculator page, Control Doc, 1 for calculator. On your calculator page, the steps are menu, 6, 1, 3 for linear regression, X, Y, enter, enter. So you're going to see M is the slope, B is the y-intercept, R identifies the correlation, negative 0.988. So first question asks, What type of correlation does the data show? So looking at R, since it's negative 0.988, this is a strong negative correlation. Letter C says, what is the correlation coefficient? That is the value of R. So the value of R is negative 0.988274. Letters B and D. Write an equation. When you write your equation, you write it as y equals mx plus b, and we can round. Y equals negative 2.29x plus 58. Letter D, according to the data, predict the cost if 9 t-shirts and hundreds were purchased. So 9 t-shirts represents your x. We're going to find the cost, so we're going to find the y value. Again, we went to our list in spreadsheets, we added the calculator page, now we add the graph page. So control doc, number 2 for add graphs. You see it's F2, so you press the up arrow and all that information is transferred. If you press enter, the line won't appear because the window is too small. We're not concerned about our picture. We know this is a negative correlation. Pull up a table by pressing Control T. Control T. Once you pull up that table, we're trying to identify when the cost what the cost is if 9 t-shirts are sold. So the X value, you're going to go down to 9 and see that the cost would be $37.286. So we're going to say $37. Number 24, what is the zero of the graph shown? So looking at this graph, you have to remember that the word zero is x-intercept. So I'm looking at the x-axis to identify my zero. My zero here is negative 6, or you can write it as a point, negative 6, comma 0. X equals negative 6. My y-intercept. I look at my y value to identify my y-intercept. Look on the y-axis for your y-intercept. Here your y-intercept is negative 9, or you write it as a point, 0, comma negative 9. To find the slope of the line, that's m. I can take these 2 points and make myself a table and put it in my list in spreadsheets. So negative 8.3, negative 3, negative 4.5 for the y. So open up a new document, go to number 4 for list in spreadsheets. A is x, B is y, negative 3, negative 8, negative 3, 3, negative 4.5. After I put this in my list in spreadsheets, I can add my calculator page and use menu 613, x, y, enter, enter. M is negative 1.5. So M equals negative 1.5. And last, number 25. If you are given an equation, you can graph this equation and find the range, which is the y, if you're given the domain x. So we're going to go to a graph page and enter the equation. 3/4 x minus 5, enter. Pull up a table, so control T. When my x is negative 2, my y value is negative 6.5. When my x is 0, my y value is negative 5. When my x value is 4, y is negative 2. And when x is 6, y is negative 0.5. And that is the end.